Vinny Beats here from Pop Turn. It's me to Charlie Kerr from Hotel Mira about their recent album, I'm Not Myself. We also have a tour to talk about as well. Welcome to the show, man. It's good to see you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
It is exciting. I feel like you can also answer this because you also act as well. But I feel like, writing music and, putting the songs together and then actually going and recording the album are two separate journeys in one way, because things can kind of change throughout the process and everything. Did it feel with this record like two journeys, or did it feel like all one big journey of putting this record out with many steps?
Oh man, it's sort of like in filmmaking where like you make the movie once when you write it, you make the movie again when you shoot it, and you make the movie again when you edit it. Yeah. That sort of reminds me of the process of making the I'm Not Myself record because of the circumstances of recording it. We had to have, multiple producers, and I'd written so much, and then we had to sort of shave it down into 12 songs and then get somebody to mix it sort of so it had as much cohesion as possible.
Yes.
But yeah, it ends up sort of sounding like I would hope it ends up sounding sort of like this sort of fun, like party mix CD.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through a couple different genres with the through line of sort of
I don't think your band has a genre. That's so true. I feel like there's a lot, and I feel like I don't think artists are like putting themselves in that box anymore. And I feel like, do you feel like that's discussions with the bandmates about throwing the genre away, or do you feel like it kind of just happens? Because that interests me, actually.
With this one, it was sort of like the songs we picked were all the ones that were sort of metaphorically screaming out to us that they already had their own identity.
Yeah.
And that we have to just like follow that.
Yep.
To inevitable conclusion. So there's like an Americana vibe to like an almost Tom Pettiness to like Alone in America. And then you get to Mama, which is almost like emo meets Beatles and Jeff Buckley, and then
Block Party. There's a Block Party in there.
There's definitely some Block Party and Yeah Yeahs and TV on the radio and then some more sort of like pure pop disco moments too, and
it's got it all. The record has it all, man, and I love it, and I'm so happy for you and the band that's finally out. And I feel like it's one of those things as well, man, where at the end of the day, you're making music because, music is escape. It's a medicine for a lot of people. I would not be this person I was with certain bands and everything. But at the end of the day, you want to get it out, marketing. There is the business component of it. I'm just curious with this record, is that kind of an interesting balance of writing songs for you and also writing songs that people would love to listen to? Like, do you know what I mean by that a little bit? Is it a ping pong match? Because I find that interesting as well, right?
I do. There's been very few moments in my career where I felt like I've compromised any sort of artistic vision, because I love pop music to begin with. I love things that are catchy. Kevy from Fake Shark was making fun of me the other day because he was like, dude, you love what everyone else loves. Like, you love Metallica and the Lakers. Like, like these are like, and I think almost the juxtaposition of how much of like an underdog and an outcast I've felt like sort of throughout my life, combined with the most accessible music form possible, makes for sort of an interesting alchemy.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And to kind of add to that a little bit, with this record specifically, how much, like, were you conscious at all of the, you know, listener listening to the songs while you were making it, or did that kind of happen a little bit afterwards? Because there's going to be moments where you have an idea of the mix and everything, but I'm wondering if there's situations where you're like, someone's really going to like bop their head to this, or someone's really going to feel this. Like, I'm sure it happens naturally sometimes.
So I think we started making this record even when there was uncertainty that there was ever going to be live music as we knew it again.
So during the pandemic, you wrote this record.
That's right.
Yes.
During lockdown, we were writing, and during lockdown, we were recording. And so I think we all sort of agreed that we were going to be swing on the side of optimism and be like, we want to make a record that will be powerful live and feel like a party and feel like we're all coming out of our caves to do live music and to be in community again.
Yeah.
Because so that was really important, that all the songs would make sense in sort of a more anthemic live context.
Yeah.
And since I was a kid, like I when I write something, like I'm all for the people who write just for themselves, and
Yeah.
like if no one ever hears it, it's still a beautiful piece of art. But for me, since I was like 10 years old, I would be writing in my basement and get excited about the idea of, ooh, when somebody hears this line, like I hope they freak out, or like when this chorus hits, like I hope it like you know, makes people you know, feel something, or this ideally this lyric will make somebody laugh, and then while they're laughing they'll actually understand how sad it is.
Yeah.
Like that sort of audience interplay, and then thinking about then doing it in the live context is such a large part of Hotel Mira, because we've been blessed with like the coolest, most passionate fans we could ask for. So yeah, music for me is so much about connecting. So so even as a kid, I the whole thing was just like being a lonely little boy writing songs, hoping that they would connect. Like
100%. I mean, you all, it's funny to think about the fact that Hotel Mira is that artist for a lot of people that you had growing up, right? Like the people that are able to kind of put those songs on and be like, if I didn't have bands like Hotel Mira, it would be a lot more difficult. You know what I mean? It kind of escaped. It's crazy because you were in that situation at some point. We all were in that situation at some point.
I think that that's sort of the most sort of karmically satisfying thing about it.
Yeah, because like, it becomes about a bigger thing than just yourself, if you think about it, right?
and what always mattered most was like you know, sort of to me with those bands that sort of kept me going, with the songs that sort of kept me going.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that. And so yeah, paying that forward and sort of existing in that context for you know, for kids who are going through it and stuff.
Yeah, man. It's huge, dude. It's like it's like, I remember, because I was telling you before we started, I used to be a concert promoter, I used to be in bands. PD Beats was my stage name. I was playing drums in all these bands. And like I remember like I think the coolest thing was being able to have bands like members of bands like All American Rejects and Yellow Card and Atreyu like on my show that I used to listen to in high school, and tell them like, you know, I want to thank you because, you know, your music really helped me through a lot of kind of tough times at school bullying. Like that was like a really cool kind of moment. And it's like, it's crazy because like they hear that, and it's one of those things where they all say, I really appreciate that. And I had those bands, like you mentioned, like Metallica, like those were the bands for them, right? If you think about it.
It's what music's for.
Yeah.
I think when you really break it down, that's at its purest, that's what music that's like written from the heart is supposed to do. You know,
Yeah.
it's supposed to like expand your mind and make you feel less alone in whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's what you're talking about reminds me of this instance that I sort of had, I suppose, last 2 years ago. We opened for Billy Talent
Yep.
at Pacific Coliseum, which is like was
That's
10,000.
another one, man. Like that band, like that was one of those for me too. Yeah.
Same. So check it out. So like I said, we opened for them at Pacific Coliseum 2 years ago. But I think 10 years ago, I was in the nosebleeds watching them at the same venue.
That's crazy.
So it took a decade for me to get down the stairs and be on the stage, but I did it.
Yeah. I remember doing a drum cover of Nothing Special by Ill Scarlet, and then 4 years later booking them in Montreal as a concert promoter.
It's
yeah, those are the moments. But we work hard for those moments, okay? I just want to say, luck, I don't like that a lot, because like there are things that obviously you did and like changes you made and certain things to your music and opportunities that led to where you are now. You know what I mean by that? Like, yeah, luck comes into it, but you're there because of your hard work, man. You know what I mean?
I think that the only sort of metric that you can't disagree with in terms of like who has succeeded or got what they wanted in the arts, or really anything, any sort of dream, is it's the people who didn't give up.
Yeah exactly.
You know, it's the people who stuck with it and had stamina and sort of kept their eye on the prize and kept trying to improve, and in those moments where I was really tanking and nobody wanted to support what I was doing, and nobody wanted to you know, kind of, we were getting dropped by people, and in those phases, you know, I still had to find sort of joy and purpose.
Yep.
All the while completely tanking.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think if you can do that, you have you're bound to make something cool. And yeah, I mean, just like there's such a rich history of film, literature, music, visual art. Like, you, as an artist, you should never be bored.
No, there's a lot. Yeah, for sure. You shouldn't be bored.
There's so much.
Sorry, go ahead.
There's just so much to draw on.
Yeah.
There's so much to research. There's so much to dive into and inspire you to sort of get to the next thing. And then also, I think you have to be willing to do a lot of stuff that just isn't glamorous.
I feel like, but the thing is, it's like, you know, it's interesting you mentioned that, because wearing many hats, and like you act as well, and we were talking about, you know, going behind the camera, directing and writing a little bit before we started as well. I mean, it's like all this storytelling component of it. I feel like you have to kind of be thrown in and kind of do everything. You know what I mean? And like you also have to like do a lot of things that maybe you didn't think you were gonna have to do. Like actually maybe like produce the record, or like record, or like, you know, have like learn how to do lights for your band. Like, I remember like it was like all us doing all our lights for our band. You know what I mean? When we were playing, like, I feel like that's something that gets lost in translation a little bit, to be honest with you.
I never thought I'd have to do any video editing.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd need to create sort of catchy essentially like advertisements for the band. Like there's so many things I didn't think would be a part of my job
Yeah.
that I've ended up having to go like, I guess that's just a part of my job.
Yep. Absolutely. And
Um,
it's paid off though, man, because you are a hell of a performer and it's an incredible record. And I can't wait for people to see all the songs live on tour because there's a tour coming up. You guys are going on tour pretty soon, right? With Fake Shark.
yeah, a week from now, or whenever this is released, but
Yeah.
January 17th is the first date in Victoria. Then we do Vancouver, then Kelowna, then it's 4 shows in Alberta, 2 in
So it's a
Saskatchewan.
Canadian tour. It's
Yeah,
a Canadian tour. Yeah.
it starts in Victoria and it ends in Ottawa. I think it's 19 dates with Fake Shark,
Ends in
um,
Ottawa. Yeah.
over about a month. Um, and 5 of those shows are already at a low ticket warning, which is
Yep.
really exciting.
Hmm.
The Vancouver show is the Commodore Ballroom, which is for somebody who grew up quite a bit in Vancouver.
That's the
Headline
spot, right?
Headlining the Commodore is like something I never thought I would do.
It's amazing. What's the cap for that venue?
1100.
Unreal, man. No, it's just enjoy it, man. Honestly, man. Like I think the best part about this is just seeing how much work you put into it. Like I've known about your band for a while, and I know you've been doing it for a while. So just keep it up, man. I'm so happy for you. And like I said, people could check out the record wherever they listen to music. I'll have all the description where they could buy tickets to the tour in my the description for this video as well, so they could check that out. It was really great chatting with you, man. Like thank you so much for coming on the show.
No problem. But before you go, tell me what you sort of like got out of the record.
Very good. Yeah. You're doing this has happened a few times because now I'm like getting interviewed on my own show. So I got from this record. So the thing I love is I just love breaks in songs. I love when there's situations where, you have kind of high, like fast paced kind of rock music in a lot of ways. And then it kind of takes a little bit of a break. And there's kind of a little bit of kind of moments where, you do your falsetto, which you do an incredible job with. And there's a lot of, lyric breaks. And you could tell there's kind of little breaks and there's kind of little messages kind of happening throughout songs. And then it kind of goes back into the rock music and everything. I love parts. And I think this record for me was a record that had a lot of amazing parts. And some of my favorite bands growing up of different genres are bands I like for that. You know what I mean? Like Metallica, Led Zeppelin, Blink-182. If you listen to all these bands, I know I'm talking like the big popular bands, but one of the reasons why I think those bands are popular is some of the songs on records don't sound like all the other songs, which is what I like from this as well. But they all have little journeys in between them as well. Like if you listen to, Dancing in the Moonlight, that has like 2 or 3 songs in one if you think about it. You know what I mean? Which is what I really love. So that's my takeaway. I love the layers of a lot of the songs on this record. If that answers your question.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean that speaks to the writing and recording of this record, and I have to give a shout out to my bandmates and collaborators, because there's simply no one better, like Mike Noble, Clark Grieve,
Yep.
Cole George, who are the other 3 members of Hotel Mira. Yeah, so that's sort of like
so it makes sense what I'm saying though. The layers, like I wasn't sure if it kind of like there's like steps in the songs. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Like, and what I was just gonna say was like, I think what you're sort of speaking to is how every song is meant to sort of stand on its own.
Yes.
Its own feet.
That's a good record to me. Like I even think of like Rise Against. Every time a Rise Against record would come out, there would be like different songs that kind of stood their own. At the end of the day, like I think this is a whole Hotel Mira record, right? Like if I put every song on, I know it's your band. You know what I mean? We're not going too far away from that, but they sound different. They're their own kind of stories in one, which is really cool.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and I think it sort of comes from this place of like, wanting everyone to arrive and have everybody have sort of a different track that they relate to or are drawn to, and not having any sort of filler.
Eventually, Mama and Dancing in the Moonlight are my top 3. If you were going to ask that next question, those are my favorite. Those are my favorite songs.
I'm glad you dig.
Eventually is a good tune. I like that song a lot.
I think eventually, as far as being a songwriter goes, I think Eventually and Jungle are the best bare bones songs I've ever written.
Jungle is, in my opinion, is it interesting when you talk to different fans too about like their fit? Because I think Jungle is the best Hotel Mira song. Like, it's the best song.
I think there's a good argument. Yeah,
like I remember. Do you know Yukon Blonde? Do you remember that band, Yukon Blonde? Like, so like Saturday Night, right? Like that's like when I was talking to Jeff from that band. Like, that's the song. You know what I mean? Like but bands have so many songs, but like I think for you guys it's Jungle for sure. James
from Yukon Blonde produced our song on this album, King of the World.
Amazing. Yeah. So
we love those guys.
Such a good band. I love that song. That's like on my, because I was telling you like before we got this interview like set up, like I like Jungle is always in my rap. Like I listen to that song a lot. Like I always envision Jungle being on like a EA Sports NHL video game soundtrack. I feel like that.
Listen, we're open to it.
Yeah, that we got to get Dancing in the Moonlight on one of those, man. That's got to be on a video game. We got to make that a 2024 goal. I will try to make that happen. How about that? We will talk.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. The record is available wherever they listen to music, right? So that's a quick plug, right? Wherever they listen to music, they can check the record out, and then
you can get tickets to the Hotel Mira upcoming Canadian I'm Not Myself tour.
Yep.
At hotelmiramusic.com.
Yep.
We're also headed to New York City in March to be a part of the new Colossus Fest. So get your tickets to that as well.
Absolutely. And Charlie Kerr on Instagram, right? And then the band's on Instagram as well, correct?
That's right. Hotel Mira Music is the Instagram of the band. And sort of if you want my nonsense and memes, it's Charlie Kerr for real.
Awesome. Well, this has been PopTurnitive, youtube.com/PopTurnitive for previous episodes. I Am Not Myself, which is the recent record from Hotel Mira, is available now wherever you listen to music. Until next time, this is Charlie Kerr and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to PopTurnitive. Make sure to check out our past episodes of PopTurnitive on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.